Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on quite a journey, actually, into some sources that reveal this often underestimated superpower for, anyone learning English. Training your ears for fluency. So, our mission is really to unpack why listening, truly listening, is your secret weapon, how it kind of reshapes your brain, and crucially, the practical steps you can start taking, well, right away to boost your comprehension.
Yeah, and it's so much more than just um, understanding words, isn't it? It's really about getting attuned to the natural rhythm, the sort of melody and flow of English. Like, imagine you walk into a busy cafe, maybe London, maybe New York. At first, it's just noise, right? A jumble. But then with practice, your brain starts picking out patterns, familiar words, the intonation.
Oh,
And
okay.
suddenly clarity starts to emerge, that transformation. That's the superpower we're digging into.
That analogy really sets the stage perfectly. So let's unpack this a bit more. Why is deep listening so fundamentally important, especially for someone aiming for real fluency? What are the core benefits these sources are highlighting?
Well, what's consistently emphasized is how listening sort of fundamentally recalibrates your brain beyond just learning new vocabulary in context, which, by the way, is way more effective than just memorizing lists because your brain links the word to how it's actually used.
Right. Context is everything.
Exactly. You also instinctively absorb grammatical structures. You hear correct sentences naturally built over and over. It's like passive learning that fuels active understanding.
And it's not just words and grammar, right? It's also getting used to the speed, the different accents, the actual pronunciation you hear in the real world.
Precisely. You can't really get that from a textbook alone. And maybe the most powerful part, consistent listening helps you start to think in English.
Mm.
The sources use this great comparison. Think about kids learning their first language.
Hmm.
They spend years just listening, soaking it all up, sounds, meaning before they even speak complex sentences, they train their ears first. That builds the intuition, and that's a model anyone can follow, really.
Yeah. That idea is really compelling. Thinking in English starts with listening. But okay, if listening is this superpower, are there different ways to use it? The sources seem to say not all listening is the same.
Yeah, this is where it gets really practical and interesting. The material breaks it down into three kinds of listening, distinct types. First, there's passive listening.
Okay.
Think of it like background immersion. You've got English radio on, or a podcast, maybe the TV, while you're doing other stuff, driving.
Just having it there.
Right. You're not straining to catch every word, but your brain is still tuning in to the rhythm, the intonation, the overall sound.
Yeah.
It's about creating that English environment.
Got it. So number two.
Second is active listening. Now you're focused, really paying attention. You might repeat things you hear, maybe jot down new words, or pause and try to answer questions in your head about what's being said. The goal here is comprehension.
Okay. Makes sense. Focused effort.
And the third type is focused listening. This is super targeted, like maybe you're practicing understanding a specific accent or you're really digging into a particular topic, say business English, or even simulating real situations like ordering coffee or handling a job interview in your head. It's analytical.
So the real trick then is probably using all three, right? To help your ears adapt and make those brain connections stick.
Absolutely. They really complement each other. Passive builds the foundation, active builds understanding, and focused refines the details.
This deep dive is definitely about practical tips. And the sources seem packed with them for daily ear training. So what's like one immediate thing listeners can start doing today?
Consistency is key. That's the main message. Start small, just 5 or 10 minutes a day. Listen to something short. Seriously, consistency beats long, infrequent sessions every time for ear training.
And finding content you actually like is important too, I imagine. Music, sports, cooking, travel keeps it from feeling like a chore.
Exactly. Engagement is crucial for retention. If you enjoy it, you'll stick with it. Another really good technique they mention is using subtitles smartly.
How so?
Listen once with the subtitles on to kind of anchor your understanding. Then turn them off immediately and listen again. It forces your brain to link the sounds directly to the meaning without that visual aid.
Oh, I like that. Train the ears directly.
hmm And repetition helps too. Listening to the same favorite clip or episode multiple times helps your brain lock onto patterns faster.
Ah, and then there's the famous shadowing technique. I've heard about this. The sources describe it as listening and repeating right after the speaker.
Yes, like an echo. It's incredibly effective
Why?
because it makes your ears and mouth work together. You're practicing rhythm, stress, pronunciation almost instantly. So, for example, you could take a short podcast clip for learners, listen once with subtitles,
Okay.
then again without. Then pause after each sentence or even just a phrase and say it out loud. Try to mimic the speaker's intonation, their speed. You can even try guessing what word comes next sometimes. That active engagement, it really speeds things up.
Okay, let's talk about the why. What's the science here? What's actually happening in our brains when we do this kind of listening practice?
It's fascinating, actually. When you listen in a new language, your brain is literally forging new pathways, new connections between sounds and meanings. And with repetition, those connections get stronger, faster, more automatic.
Ah.
So our sources explain that your brain stops hearing just individual words, like trying to piece together Wateryoing. Instead, it starts hearing chunks of sound.
Like hearing, what are you doing, as one single unit of meaning. Without translating word by word, that feels like a major breakthrough.
It is a huge shift. And that leads us right into tackling a really common challenge. Fast, connected speech. Native speakers, well, we often drop sounds, right? Going to becomes gone.
Yeah. Or want to becomes wanna.
Exactly. And we link words together. Did you eat? Can sound like did you eat? And contractions like I am to I'm are everywhere.
Which at first can sound like mumbling to a learner. It can be really confusing.
Absolutely. It's a big frustration point. One story in the sources mentioned a learner who genuinely thought native speakers were just unclear. But after lots of listening, they realized it wasn't mumbling, it was just connected speech, the natural flow.
So it's about recognizing the patterns.
Yes. And the material actually suggests making a list of these common reductions, gonna, wanna, gotta, lemmy, kinda,
Yeah.
and actively listening for them.
Hmm.
Even practicing saying them yourself until they feel natural.
That makes sense. Now, since this is a deep dive, it's probably no surprise that podcasts come up as a great tool for ear training. Why are they considered so ideal?
Well, several reasons. Podcasts use real conversational language, usually, not stiff textbook dialogues. Plus, the flexibility is amazing. You can listen literally anytime, anywhere, commuting, walking the dog, cooking dinner, and so many are free, covering every topic under the sun, so you can definitely find something that interests you.
So the advice is start easy, maybe with learner podcasts, then move up.
Exactly. Start where you feel comfortable, maybe 80% comprehension, then gradually push yourself with native level stuff.
The sources even gave that quick shadowing example. I'd like a cup of coffee, please, and noticing how can I get a can smushed together into can I get a. That really makes you focus on the flow, doesn't it?
It does. That kind of micro practice, focusing on those little connections, helps your ears and mouth sync up. And crucially, when you don't understand something, the sources say don't get frustrated, get curious.
Easier said than done sometimes.
True. But think of every huh moment as a learning opportunity. Pause it, replay it, maybe note down the word or phrase, look it up later. Notice how it was said differently than you expected. Honestly, even native speakers mishear each other. Perfection isn't the goal here. It's persistence. Curious persistence.
Okay, so besides podcasts, what other kinds of resources can listeners use to keep their ear training interesting?
Oh, the sources list quite a few good ones. Slow English news podcasts, great for clarity. Lots of YouTube channels are designed for language learners, often with visuals.
Right, audiobooks too.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Maybe start with simpler ones, like young adult novels or things you already know the story of. Language learning apps often have listening exercises built in, and, of course, watching TV shows or movies. First with subtitles, then try without. Classic, but effective.
Variety seems important.
Keeps it fresh, keeps you motivated.
What about accents? English has so many variations globally, that can feel like another layer of difficulty.
That's a really important point the sources address. English is global. British, American, Australian, South African, Irish, the list goes on. Each has its quirks.
So what's the advice? Try to learn them all.
No, not at first. The suggestion is to pick one main accent, to focus on initially, maybe American, maybe British, whichever you prefer or need most. Build a strong base with that one. Then later, start exposing yourself to others. Actively compare them. Notice how, say, their sound changes or how vowels shift, like water want to versus want to.
Okay.
That comparative listening helps your ears become more flexible, more adaptable to the real world where you'll hear lots of accents.
So it seems like it's not just about the materials you use, but really building a consistent habit is maybe the most critical piece.
Absolutely. Consistency is king. It beats trying to cram hours of listening into one weekend. The sources really push setting a specific time, even just 10, 15 minutes, every single day. Put it on your calendar, track it.
Like building any habit.
Exactly. Those small daily deposits add up hugely over time. They also suggest keeping a listening journal.
What's that?
It makes it more active. After listening, you jot down maybe the topic, a new word you learned, a sentence you liked, even just how you felt. Was it easy? Difficult? Why? That little bit of reflection really cements the learning.
Okay, so you've done all this great ear training. How does that then connect to actually speaking better?
There's a direct link highlighted in the sources. After you listen, you need to practice speaking what you heard out loud. Try repeating whole sentences. Focus on getting the stress right, the rhythm, the intonation. Even try to mimic the speaker's emotion or tone.
So that shadowing thing again.
Yes, or just conscious imitation. It bridges the gap between understanding the sound and producing it accurately yourself. It connects your trained ear to your mouth.
Now this next bit sounds fun. The sources mention music as a powerful tool for ear training.
Oh yeah, definitely. Music is fantastic for language learning.
Why specifically?
Well, think about it. Repetition. Lyrics get stuck in your head, right?
Absolutely. Earworms.
Exactly. The melody helps you remember the words and phrases, too. It's like a built-in memory aid. Plus, you pick up tons of slang, idioms, cultural references that are common in everyday speech.
So what's the method? Just listen to songs.
The tip is to start with perhaps slower songs. Find the lyrics online, read along as you listen, then sing along. Don't be shy. It helps internalize the sounds. And finally, test yourself. Listen without the lyrics and see how much you catch. It's learning that doesn't feel like learning.
That's key. Because what if it does start to feel boring, like homework? How do you keep going?
That's a real risk. If it feels like a drag, the advice is simple. Change something. Switch topics. Find a speaker with a different voice or accent. Try shorter audio clips. Listen to music instead of news. Whatever it takes to keep it enjoyable. Because enjoying the process is what keeps you consistent.
And the end goal of all this?
Ultimately, it's to reach that point where you recognize words and common phrases almost instantly, where you understand without constantly translating in your head, where maybe you even start to think in English phrases sometimes. That's when you know it's really working. Effortless comprehension.
To really help listeners put this into action, the sources actually lay out a kind of sample daily plan, don't they?
They do. It's a simple, manageable 3-part routine. Morning, maybe 5-10 minutes of listening while you have coffee, a podcast bit, some news, just to get your brain in English mode.
Okay, short and sweet.
Afternoon, a quick shadowing session, even just 1 or 2 minutes, focusing on repeating a few phrases accurately.
Right. Quick practice.
Evening, watch a short clip, maybe from a show you like. First time with subtitles, second time without. Test yourself.
Manageable chunks.
Exactly. And then maybe on the weekend, you could do something longer, like a full podcast episode or watch a movie.
And for motivation, the sources shared some real listener stories, which I always find helpful.
Yeah, those are great. Like someone mentioning they could finally follow native speed podcasts after just a month of doing this daily.
Wow, just a month.
Or another person saying shadowing felt super weird at first, but it massively boosted their speaking confidence and flow. Hearing that it works for real people helps.
Definitely.
They even give practical phrases to practice for when you don't understand in real life. Things like, could you say that again, please?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Useful stuff.
And the tip is to practice saying them slowly at first, then faster, so they roll off the tongue naturally when you actually need them.
That's smart. And finally, a really important reminder they included: some days will be harder than others.
Absolutely crucial. Some days your brain just feels slow. You'll understand less. That is totally normal. It happens to everyone.
Don't get discouraged by the off days.
Exactly. Consistency over time matters way more than how you feel or perform on any single day. Just keep showing up.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive, it really feels like training your ears isn't just another task on the language learning checklist. It's more like opening a door.
It really is. It feels like the foundational path, the way to actually start thinking, maybe even dreaming, and just sort of living more comfortably in English. Every single minute you spend listening, it's like adding a brick to your confidence. It makes fluency feel less like this huge mountain to climb and more like a natural outcome.
So, what does all this mean for you listening right now? It means that ability is within reach. The ability to truly hear English, to take those streams of sound that might seem confusing now and have them just click into clear understanding.
Yeah, think about how much richer everything becomes. Conversations, music, movies, travel,
Hmm.
everything in English just opens up when you can really tune into the details, the nuances. So maybe the final thought is, what new world of sounds, what new connections are waiting for you to unlock just by deciding to listen a little more closely?
Keep those ears open and keep that curiosity going. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.